Come to order. The September 13th, 2022 Liquor Board hearing is now in session. I'll turn the meeting over to Mr. Praley for some announcements.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, everybody. My name is Jimmy Praley. I serve as counsel to the board. For every one of these meetings, I make a few brief announcements. First is that the commissioners are part-time public servants. They all have other outside interests. When they know they have a conflict of interest, they will recuse themselves. However, due to the number of cases that the board hears every night, members of the public who may appear for any given matter, it'd be impossible for each commissioner to know whether or not there is a conflict or an appearance of a conflict. So, when your case is called, if you believe that there is a conflict of interest and you wish to have a commissioner recuse themselves, you need to make that known. I will rule on it. I will confer with the chairman at that time. If you don't, then we'll proceed forward under the supposition that there are no conflicts. Second is that the board, for the sake of judicial economy, has delegated the authority to rule on admissibility of evidence and objections to me. So if an objection is made as counsel, I will make a ruling. My ruling will be that of the chair. Those are the only announcements tonight. So with that, I will turn it back to Chief Inspector Wayne Harris, who can call the first case. Inspector Harris.
Thank you, Mr. Praley. The first case tonight will be Arundel Mills Wine and Spirits A&J Shaw Group LLC. Jatendra Shaw, member. Abdul Fatah Sheikh, member. Yash Patel, clerk. Detective T. Middleton, number 1061. Detective Mountcastle, number 1155. This is a Class A license for beer, wine, and liquor, including wine tasting and Sunday privileges. Located at 7645 Arundel Mills Road, Unit 20, Hanover, Maryland, 21076.
I'm sorry, counsel, will you waive reading of the case? I will. Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Anybody wishing to testify, please stand and raise your right hand. Okay. No, I'm sorry. Do you solemnly declare and affirm under the penalty of perjury that you're about to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Very good. Thank you. Please state your name and address for the record. We'll start with the detective.
Detective Tom Middleton, Anne Arundel County Police, assigned to Western District.
My name is Fatah Muhammad Sheikh, 1815 Severn Hills Lane, Severn, Maryland. Phone number is 410-551-3783.
Harsh Shaw, 21301 Dennett Estates Drive, Brookville, Maryland, 20833.
Benjamin Henry, counsel to A&J Shaw Group LLC, trading as Arundel Mills Wine and Spirit, 200 Westgate Circle, Suite 500, Annapolis, Maryland, 21401.
All right, thank you, Mr. Henry. Detective Middleton, if you could please provide your statement of facts.
Yes, good evening, Chairman and the board. Once again, Detective Middleton, Anne Arundel County Police. This was on August 8th of this year, 2022, approximately 4:30 p.m. in the afternoon. Detective Mountcastle and myself were working Operation Save, conducting alcohol sales compliance checks of retail businesses. We directed a confidential source, 20 years of age, and I will add that we did verify RCS through Maryland Motor Vehicle Records. I do have a certified copy of driver's license to verify the age. The CS was directed to go into the Arundel Mills Wine and Spirits, located at 7645 Unit 20 and Arundel Mills Boulevard, which is in Hanover, Anne Arundel County, Maryland. We observed the confidential source enter the business. The CS went into the store, picked out a 12-pack of Miller Lite beer, took it to the front counter. The CS also picked out a miniature Fireball cinnamon whiskey that was sitting in a bucket on the counter next to the cash register. The CS was given official Anne Arundel County funds, was able to purchase the Miller Lite beer and the Fireball whiskey from the clerk. The clerk did not ask the CS for any identification. The CS exited the business, immediately turned over the alcoholic beverages to myself and Detective Mountcastle. I know through my training, knowledge, and experience that Miller Lite beer and Fireball whiskey are alcohol beverages. Detective Mountcastle and myself entered the store, identified the clerk as Yash Patel, via his international driver's license. Mr. Patel advised that he forgot to ask for identification. He also advised that he has not had the alcohol awareness training. Photograph was taken of Mr. Patel and his identification. Photograph was taken of the Miller Lite beer and the Fireball whiskey, and they were subsequently destroyed. The liquor license was not hanging on the wall, but was laying face down on the rear counter. I took a photograph of the license after I propped it up on the counter. We observed one other employee working in the store. Mr. Patel advised that the manager was not there, but notified him on the telephone while we were there. And a copy of this report was forwarded to the Anne Arundel County Liquor Board. That would be my statement of facts.
All right, thank you, Detective Middleton. Mr. Henry, this is your opportunity to ask any questions you may have of the detective based on that statement of facts. Do you have any questions?
Just one. You did not witness what occurred inside the store, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, no further questions.
Okay. Let's see if the commissioners have any questions. Mr. Chairman, any questions?
No questions.
Commissioner Duffy, any questions?
No questions.
All right, Commissioner Snoops, any questions?
No questions.
All right, well, with that, we'll turn it over to you, Mr. Henry. You can present your case in defense of this by way of proffer testimony or a combination of both, but the floor is yours.
Thank you. We're here to proffer. Obviously,
Sure.
we're not here to dispute the violations as alleged as they occurred. Mr. Shaw is the son of Mr. Shaw, who's on the license. Mr. Shaw passed away late last year, and Mr. Harshaw has been acting in his place. Mr. Sheik is also a member here with us. You know, the parties are aware of the violations and the previous violations in this, and what we're really asking for is at this point is there's a transfer scheduled for, I believe, October for a new business to come in and take over this license. As I'm aware, I've spoken with the new purchasers. The new purchasers are prepared to put in a new point of sale, a scannable ID for any sales coming forward. Also, Mr. Yash Patel has been fired and is no longer with the business due to the violations and the instances that occurred. And what we are asking for is essentially that the board take leniency on us in this situation. Obviously, we are trying to get this sale through. Mr. Hardik Patel, he is the purchaser, he's here, he's aware of the situation, he understands what's going on, and we all take this very seriously, and we understand that obviously there's been too many violations in recent memory, but as we are trying to get this through, I've spoken to Mr. Hardik Patel. He currently works in another liquor store in Baltimore County, and has assured me that any new employees will be tip certified, that Mr. Sheik and Mr. Shaw will no longer be part of the business going forward once this transfer happens, and that's kind of the last bit of this, what we're waiting for. They will be trading under the same name, Arundel Mills Wine and Spirit, but they will no longer be involved in the business whatsoever.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Henry. Mr. Chairman, any questions?
No questions. Fine.
Commissioner Duffy, any questions?
No questions.
Commissioner Snoops?
No questions.
All right, Mr. Henry, last word. Anything you want to add before I turn it over to the board for deliberation and decision?
Just that I've spoken to all individuals involved, and we understand the seriousness of it, and we understand that a change needs to happen, and that's what we're trying to get at this point.
Okay. Mr. Chairman?
So, as I, just to summarize here, these two gentlemen are getting out of the business?
That is correct.
Okay, and selling the business to be transferred sometime in the near future? Okay.
I believe the hearing is set for October for the transfer of the license.
Gotcha. The license was transferred to them in 2015.
Yes,
This is the third violation
that is correct.
since that particular time. Actually, the third since 2018. So I'm going to impose a fine of $800 per count, plus court costs, and I ask for a second.
This Commissioner Duffy, I second the motion.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Here, all excused. Thank you. Next case, Nursery Road Liquors, Liquor Nursery LLC, David Gavigan, Vice President, Hiram Shingala, President, Hatish H. Zenvala, CIO, Christine Marie Ray, Clerk, Brunel Coleman, Clerk, Sergeant White, number 1329, Detective Zapata, number 1239, Detective Middleton, number 1061, Nicholas McGarvey is the inspector.
Mr. Howes, would you waive reading?
Okay, thank you very much. Anybody wishing to testify, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly, thank you. Do you solemnly declare and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony that you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Okay, please state your name and address for the record. We'll start with the detectives.
Detective Middleton, Anne Arundel County Police, assigned to the Western District.
Victor Patrol, Sapeta, Arundel County Police, Western District.
Dave Gavigan, 7812 Poplar Grove Road, Southern Maryland.
I don't think his speaker is on.
Yeah, there needs to be a red.
It is on now. Talking now. So, David Gavigan, 7892 Poplar Grove Road, Severn, Maryland.
Brunel Coleman, 5920 Yorkwood Road, Baltimore, Maryland.
Hiren Singala, 6113 Good Hunters Ride, Columbia, Maryland, 21045.
And I'm their counsel, Mark W. Howes, Howes, 1906 Town Center Boulevard, Suite 275, Annapolis 21401.
All right, thank you. Detective, if you could please present your statement of facts for this case, please.
Yes, this, Detective Middleton, Anne Arundel County Police. This was in April 14th of last year, 2021, approximately 7:25 p.m. Detective Zapata, Sergeant White, and I were working Operation Save, conducting alcohol sales compliance checks of retail businesses. We directed a confidential source, 20 years of age, subject to enter Nursery Road Liquors at number 6 Nursery Road, located in Lithicum, Anne Arundel County, Maryland. And once again, the CS was verified through MVA records. I have a certified copy to verify they were indeed 20. The CS went into the store, picked out an 18-pack of Bud Light beer, took it to the front counter. The CS was given official Anne Arundel County funds, was able to purchase the Bud Light beer. This was a little unique from two of the clerks. One of the clerk scanned it, and then the other one rang it up at the register. So the CS exited the business, immediately turned over the alcoholic beverage to us. I recognized through my training and experience that Bud Light beer is an alcoholic beverage. Detective Zapata and myself entered the store, identified ourselves as police officers, and identified the clerk that rang up the sale as Miss Christine Ray, born in 7/24 of '87 via her Maryland identification card. A photograph was taken of Miss Ray and her ID card. It was attached to the report. The clerk that scanned the beer was identified as Mr. Brunel Coleman, date of birth of 8/28/61 via his Maryland ID card. A photograph was taken also of him and his ID. A photograph was taken of the Bud Light beer and then was subsequently destroyed. A photograph was also taken of the Anne Arundel County liquor license, which was properly hanging on the wall. Ms. Ray advised that she had been working at the store for only 2 weeks and that has not had any official alcohol awareness training. And Mr. Coleman advised that he had the training and has been working at the store for approximately 4 years. And that would be a statement of facts. A copy of this report was submitted to the Anne Arundel County Liquor Board.
All right, thank you, Detective Middleton. Mr. Howes, do you have any questions of the detective?
I do,
based
just
on
a
the
couple briefly. Thank you very much. Good evening, Detective Middleton.
Good evening.
Sir, can you tell me, you didn't actually see the purchase go down, did you, sir?
No, sir.
Okay. And when you went to the store after the purchase, you said that Ms. Ray identified that she had not yet taken the alcohol training. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. But you also testified that Mr. Coleman, who is sitting to my right, indicated that he had had the training. Is that right?
Correct.
Did you ask him to produce any identification or anything to show that he had?
No, just the ID card that he provided for his identification. Did not see any training identification.
Okay. Mr. Coleman is indicating that he told you at the time, he told the officers at the time, that he had not yet had his training, but he had been there for 4 years. Is there any possibility you could have misunderstood him?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, Detective.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, we don't contest the charge. We know that it happened. What we
Mr. House, I'm going to give the commissioners an opportunity to ask questions of the detective, and then we'll turn it over to you. Okay.
Sure.
All right.
Sure.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
No questions.
Mr. Duffy.
No questions.
Commissioner Snoops, any questions? No questions. All right. Well, sorry to interrupt you there. We'll turn it over to you, and we'll let you go ahead and present your client's case by way of proper testimony or a combination of both.
I'd like to make some proffers. A couple of things that's very important for the board to know. My clients do a great public service to the community by being convenient. They try to hold their prices low. They give back to the community, and they're trying to run a good business and survive in this different world that we find ourselves in post-pandemic. They, on the evening in question, when Detective Middleton and his other detectives came in and made a purchase, they had a new employee there. She had only worked there for 2 weeks, and she did not check his identification, and she should have. And the owners know that she should have, but they can't obviously be there all the time, even though they know that the responsibility ultimately falls on them. This young lady was so distraught over having done this and caused the embarrassment to this organization that she's no longer employed with this group. Mr. Coleman has been there for 4 years. He is employed, and he just recently received his alcohol training. In fact, one of the things that this organization has done is they've tried to make some changes because they don't want to appear before the board again at any time in the future for any kind of mishap whatsoever. So they've installed brighter lights within their Nursery Road Liquors. They have made sure that every single employee, including all the 3 documented owners, have been through the alcohol education program. If they get a new employee, they do not allow that person to work by themselves until such time as they're properly trained and learn the idea of getting identification when there's some kind of doubt as to how old somebody is. And one of the other things that they're trying to move to, but as the board knows it's very expensive, they want to go to 100% identification, which would be the scanning of the driver's license for everybody who comes in and purchases alcoholic beverages. That's expensive, and for a small liquor store like they are, it's going to take a while for them to come up with those kind of funds to do that. But that's what they're doing. They're taking this matter very, very seriously. They do not want this to happen again. And although they did have a similar problem earlier in the year, as the chairman will remember, they hadn't had a problem before that since 2017 or something, when they first took over the business. These people are ingrained in this community. They really, really want to stay there. They want to do service to the community. They want to continue to operate their liquor store. They're asking that you just give them some kind of a fine. They're taking the matter seriously, and they want to move forward with their business.
Thank you, Mr. Howes. Mr. Chairman, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I have a question on the statement that was made. The one clerk scanned the beer and the other rang up the sale at the register. How does that work? What was they scanning? The new employee apparently was...
I'm sorry, if you don't mind if I speak.
Yeah, go ahead. What system is that? I mean, you had 2 people that encountered this confidential source, and nobody asked for proof. So
you mind if I speak?
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
All right. One of the problems that we ran into is the gentleman's a stalker. He's not actually there to sell liquor. But we did go the extra, that we want to make sure that everybody is now TAM trained.
Okay.
So that way we won't have an issue.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, no other questions.
So,
Commissioner Duffy, any questions?
I had a question similar to Chairman, but Mr. Coleman has been there, and you indicated that he's a stalker
yes, sir.
and not a register, trained for the register. But he has been there for 4 years.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
And was this the very first time that he utilized the register to ring up alcohol?
I didn't bring, I was up front because the store was crowded, so when the store get crowded, I might bag.
He may have
So,
just scanned at the back.
so it was so crowded, she was waiting on him, I just scanned the beer for her.
Well, my
Try to
question is
move things
basically,
on.
if you was there for 4 years, then he hasn't received the training, and then you have an individual that's there on the register for 2 weeks, and they haven't received training. So have you instrumented some type of training to ensure that everyone be trained within 30 days or more or less?
Actually, the number you
Yes.
just used is the number we're using. It's a minimum 30 days before we'll put somebody on the register.
Okay.
We want
Thank
them to
you.
be properly trained. We've made a mistake, and we know that. So
Okay,
we are-
thank
yes,
you.
sir. Thank you. It was a good question. Thank you.
Any additional questions, Commissioner Duffy?
No, that's all.
Commissioner Snoops, any questions? No questions. All right, Mr. Howes, anything you'd like to add?
No, I think that'll be it. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Chairman.
Back to me. Looking at as you had brought up, again, this is this would be the third violation in the last 5 years. The last one basically being in November. I'm going to go ahead and impose a $800 per count cost on each count and plus court costs, and I ask for a second.
I second the motion.
Motion is second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Motion is carried. Thank you.
Thank you very much. May I be excused, Mr. Chairman?
Thank you. Everyone's excused. Next case, Walchapel Wines, Inc.
Thanks, Ms. Carter.
Was that a wave?
Yeah, it was a wave.
Thank you.
All the way in the back.
Well, thank you, Ms. Carter. Anyone wishing to testify for or against, please remain standing and raise your right hands to be sworn in. Okay, do you solemnly declare and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony that you are about to give is the nothing but the truth? Okay, please state your name and address for the record. We'll start with the detectives.
Detective Thomas Middleton, Anne Arundel County Police, currently assigned to Western District.
Detective Charles Cepeda, Anne Arundel County Police, Western District.
MD 21062.
Anthony Figliosi, 3340 Patuxent River Road, Davidsonville, Maryland, 21035.
St. James 10, 729 Chrisfield Way, Annapolis, Maryland, 21401.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, and staff. For the record, my name is Linda Carter. I'm an attorney with Carter Law, LLC at 11705 Beltsville Drive, Suite 100, Beltsville, Maryland, 20705. And I always love coming to Annapolis. It's nice to have a real person hearing. I'm sorry I'm before you in connection with this matter. That having been said.
Detective Middleton, Cepeda, if you could give us your
Good
statement.
evening, members of the board. On the night of June 7th, 2022, approximately 8:50 hours, myself and Detective Middleton were conducting selective alcohol violation enforcement throughout the county. Just for the record, that our confidential source's age was verified through MVA records. We directed the confidential source, who was 19 years of age, to enter the Walchapel Wine and Spirits, which is located at 2646 Chapel Lake Drive, Gambrills, Maryland. That's in Anne Arundel County. We observed the confidential source enter the establishment, Confidential source went to the store and picked out a six-pack of Heineken beer and took it to the front counter. Confidential source was given official Hennepin County funds and was able to purchase the Heineken beer from the clerk, which did not ask the confidential source for identification. The confidential source then exited the business and immediately turned over the alcoholic beverage to myself and Detective Middleton. We know through our training, knowledge, and experience that Heineken beer is an alcoholic beverage. We then entered the establishment, identified ourselves as detectives for the Anne Arundel County Police Department, and positively identified the clerk as Mr. Shimin Kumar Gurung, date of birth of January 28, 1970. This was from his Maryland driver's license. Mr. Gurung advised that he forgot to ask for identification because it was close to closing hours, and I am not aware if the clerk has had the TAMS training. A photograph was taken of Mr. Gurung, the clerk, and his Maryland driver's license, the alcoholic beverage. The license, alcoholic license was properly displayed in the establishment. The alcoholic beverage was subsequently destroyed. A photograph was taken of the liquor license that was properly affixed on the wall. A copy of this report was then forwarded to the Anne Arundel County Liquor Board. Nothing further.
All right, thank you, Detective. Ms. Carter, any questions?
I have no questions, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, any questions?
No questions.
Commissioner Duffy?
No questions.
Commissioner Snoops?
No questions.
All right, Ms. Carter, we'll turn it over to you. You can present your
Thank
case
you.
by proffer, testimony, or combination of both.
If we could proffer,
Sure.
please, to save a little bit of time. The first thing I'd like to do is submit licensees exhibit number 1, which are copies of all of the tip certifications for every employee in the establishment, including the clerk that made the sale, who is no longer in the employ of the establishment. Every single employee that works in the store has a valid tip certification. The very first individual listed on that, Mr. Patel, is no longer working at the store, but all employees are certified, and my client is not going to allow any future employee to work behind the counter until they can present a valid certification card by a state-approved program. And that's not online training, that's real person proctored exam. Unfortunately, like the last 2 licensees that have been before you, this is not our first appearance here. And what happened that night was, in some part, definitely on the clerk, and in some part on us, because there was a fault in our computer system. You can stay seated. There was a fault in our computer system that we didn't realize until after the sale had taken place. Following our last appearance before you, a POS system was installed that gives you a prompt. Is the person 21? What's the date of birth? On the Sunday night after midnight preceding this sale, the Microsoft system was updated, and that prompt did not appear, and the staff didn't catch it. So the night of the incident, our videotapes actually show it was about 8:58, just minutes before closing. The lights were dim. He was getting ready to go. Person came in, made the sale. Didn't ask. But the prompt wasn't there. So the prompt system has now been... Thank you. Okay, I'm sorry, Eddie. Thank you. There's plenty. Yeah. The prompt system has now been modified. So it's actually a 2-stage. If the first thing that shows up is, so you scan anything, be it a cigarette or a tobacco product or be it alcohol, the prompt comes up and it says, please swipe or scan license. That's different than it was before. Before it was, have you verified age, which is the date of birth. Now you have to swipe it. So anyway, this licensee's exhibit number 2 are screenshots of what actually shows up on the computer anytime a regulated item comes through. The whole purpose of this is to make it as simple and as mistake-free as possible. We're trying to take the discretion away from the clerk. They take the ID, they have to swipe it, they can't process it unless it goes through the system. We don't want to be here again. I don't think there's anything else, Mr. Chairman, members of the board.
All right, thank you, Ms. Carter. Your 2 exhibits will be admitted, and they'll become part of the record.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, any questions?
Yeah, just a little confused about the second exhibit. Is this system installed now?
Yes,
It's currently
these
installed.
are actual screenshots of the existing system.
Okay. And they were installed, when were they installed?
It was updated.
Wednesday morning after the incident. The technician came, the person who takes care of our systems, he came and he reinforced all these steps, the 2 steps process.
Okay.
In case, even if someone forgot to check the scan the driver license, the step is still gonna go to the next level where it's not gonna move forward unless you hit yes or no. That reminds the clerk. Maybe I forgot, but it's not gonna move forward unless you do yes or no. So it's a 2-step process using this POS system.
Thank you. No other questions.
Commissioner Duffy, any questions?
No question.
Commissioner Snoops, any questions?
No questions.
All right, Ms. Carter, anything else?
Very briefly, again, my client is very apologetic about having to appear before you again. We are really trying to take every step possible to make sure that we're not before you again.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Again, we don't necessarily want to see him back either, trust me. And, but it's been really, in the last 2 years, this is the 3rd offense, which it's serious. And I'm glad to see that some precautions have been taken care of and people are being trained. But I'm going to go ahead and impose a fine of $800 per count, plus court costs, and I'm looking for a second.
Yes, Commissioner Duffy, I second the motion.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Motion is carried. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're excused. Okay, thank you, detectives. Have a good day. Next case, Pfeiffer's Deli and Craft Beer House, Pfeiffer's Seafood, Inc., Catherine R. Pfeiffer, President, Richard Eden Pfeiffer, Jr., Secretary, Christopher E. Pfeiffer, Vice President, Joseph M. Smith, Clerk, and Inspector Roland Marshall, Anne Arundel County Liquor Board. This is a Class B license for beer, wine, and liquor, growler, and Sunday privileges, 8894 Fort Smallwood Road, Suite 4, Pasadena, Maryland, 21122. Violations are as follows. Violation of the rules and regulations of the Board of License Commissioners for Anne Arundel County, Chapter 4, Section 4.01, little a minors, RE, Anne Arundel County Police Report 22-719985 by Detective Middleton. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I apologize. I'm reading the wrong violation. You don't need any more, do you? Violation of the rules and regulations of the Board of License Commissioners for Anne Arundel County, Chapter 3, Section 3.02, Cooperation, RE, Board of License Commissioners for Anne Arundel County, violation notice 1656 by Inspector Roland Marshall, dated June 17, 2022. Second, the violation of the rules and regulations of the Board of License Commissioners for Anne Arundel County, Chapter 4, Section 4.18, alterations, RE, Board of License Commissioners for Anne Arundel County, violation notice 1656 by Inspector Roland Marshall, dated June 17, 2022. There is a restriction on the license dated June 27, 2002, says all employees must be alcohol awareness certified within 30 days of hire. Anyone wishing to testify, please stand and raise your right hands.
Do you solemnly declare and affirm under the penalty of perjury the testimony about Richard Pfeiffer, F-I-F-E-R, 1110 Burke Road, B-U-R-K-E, Road, Middle River, Maryland, 21220.
Joseph Michael Smith, 913 Hillcrest Way, Glen Burnie, Maryland, 21060.
Roland Marshall, Inspector, Anne Arundel County Liquor Board, 672 Old Mill Road, 21108.
Chief Inspector Wayne Harris, Anne Arundel County Liquor Board, 2011D, Commerce Park Drive, Annapolis, Maryland.
All right, thank you. Inspector Harris, if you could provide us a statement of facts for this, and Inspector Marshall, if you have anything that you want to add, I'll let you add afterwards, okay?
Yes, sir, Mr. Praley. Report dated January 28th, 2022. Violation of not approval of county permits and renovations. On Friday, January 28th, 2022, I received information from Inspector R. Marshall that one of his establishments in his assigned sector was doing renovations, and he inquired if they were aware of any of the permission given by the liquor board for that action. After checking with our administration, I found that there was no approval and nor a request for approval concerning any of the above-mentioned actions. Inspector Marshall said that he was going to do an unannounced visit and check out the information that he had received. I informed Inspector Marshall that I was going to be in the field and would stop by there as well. I did join Inspector Marshall at around 1:50 p.m. at the above address, operating as Pfeiffer's, and noticed an extensive amount of demolition had been completed and was still in an active stage. I proceeded to take some photographs of the work underway and told Inspector Marshall I would make the photos available to him and the board. Please see the attached photos. While at Pfeiffer's, we had an opportunity to speak to Michael Smith, the general manager. Mr. Smith stated that he was not involved in any of the paperwork that might be required, but he would call Richard Pfeiffer Jr., a licensee, who would handle such things and was overseeing the renovations. Smith did explain that they had removed picnic tables, bathroom walls, counter space to make room for more shelvings to hold retail alcohol for sale as packaged goods. This inspector did speak to Mr. Pfeiffer on the phone, and after explaining he neither had written permission from the board to proceed with any changes and renovations, and that we did not find any records of any building permits applied for. Mr. Pfeiffer did admit to me he did not think that he had to and would proceed to do both. I informed both Mr. Smith and Mr. Pfeiffer not to proceed with any work until he had complied with the liquor board and the inspections and permits. He was also informed that he had apparent health department violations, and because of that, the construction was in the area of food. And very close to food storage containers. Some did not appear to be properly contained. This chief inspector notified both the health department and inspections and permits of what we found. They stated they would look into it further. No violation was issued during this visit. The administration and the board was fully informed, and a decision as to handle the infraction will be made. Please see the report by Inspector Roland Buddy Marshall dated January 28th, 2022, signed by me.
Okay, and I'll turn it over to you, Inspector Marshall, in just a minute, but I'm going to see if Mr. Pfeiffer has any questions of Mr. Harris based on that statement of facts. Okay. Mr. Marshall, do you have anything you want to add to Mr. Harris's statement of facts? Okay.
That report pretty much covered what I submitted and his.
Okay, great. Then we'll turn it over to the commissioners to see if they have any questions. Mr. Chairman, do you have any questions?
Not at this time.
Okay. Commissioner Duffy, do you have any questions at this time?
No questions.
Commissioner Snoops, any questions of?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, Mr. Pfeiffer, we'll turn it over to you. Mr. Smith, why don't you tell us a little bit about what's going on? You can present your case, and the board will then have the opportunity to ask some questions of you, okay?
Yes. I guess I would,
You turn. It's not on.
I can turn mine on.
All right, there we go. Yes, during, I guess I would say during the COVID, a lot of things changed, in our industry. With employees, trying to get employees to come work for us was a big issue. Figuring out the carry out, the delivery rules and stuff like that. We were established on the side that we were planning on doing renovations, set up as a carry out already with liquor and wine, able to do carry out. We've been there 30-some years, and we had, I would say there were some leaks in the roof and stuff that the property management ended up fixing and putting a new roof in. But over the years of damage, there was mold that went into the drywall. So when we noticed that into the drywall, that's why I tore down the bathrooms. That was I guess the construction that they saw that was hanging in from there. So I'm diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer. I can't be around mold or anything like that, or anything to get me sick. I was definitely going through a tough period. So, I was trying to hurry and get him out and fixed, basically, the drywall. It wasn't attached to the building. There was no, it wasn't a structure. It was like an off-base, drywall. There was no frames or anything like that in it. And then obviously I contacted contractor, and then he was trying to help me out with further along and stuff like that. Said, with the electric and all that, because, I was new to this, so I didn't really know much all about it. Then, I became sick again, so I had to leave the country for a month, for my diagnosis. And then, thank God, Michael Smith next to me, he's kind of taken over the process. All we wanted to do was basically just make the establishment cleaner and newer. That was our goal, with the bigger, carry out and delivery option, just because we couldn't find, enough help to sustain half the restaurant. And, that was our number one problem. So, I have a petition that people sign, that people that, don't want us going anywhere, and they want the renovations to get done and just stuff like that, getting feedback from communities. I've always donated to communities. I've always tried to, go above the law or whatever's got to be done. It's been a really crazy, hectic year for me. Not saying that's an excuse, but I was really trying to go by the book the best I can. Thank God Joseph Michael Smith stepped in, and we're trying to get everything all figured out right now. So, we were closed for a little bit, shut down. We ordered a big cooler that was brought in, for the carry outside. And, we're just trying to basically revamp the place and make it brand new. And that was our object, get rid of the old 30-year-old stuff that was left over from years and years and built up. And, just it happens over time. Things get old and stuff you can't see. And, all we wanted to do was rehab basically little minor stuff and add some shelving. And that was about it. That's really all I have to say about it.
Is there anything you want to add, Mr. Smith?
Yeah, so first of all, apologize that we didn't get the permits. What we were doing, we weren't really sure that we needed permits. The one thing we removed was a bar. That bar was not attached to the floor. That was something we had built. So to us, that was a piece of furniture. It was the same as moving the tables and chairs out. We moved a cooler out, which was not attached to the ground or the wall. These were things we were getting rid of because they were things we didn't need anymore. And our plan was to open up the bigger liquor store. When we were informed of that we were going about it the whole wrong way, and I stepped in, I immediately spent days, 2-3 trips a day down to the permits office, 3-4 days in a row. I secured the permits, which I have here. Glasses on, but I got the permit. We now have a permit to do it. There's one posted. I have pictures if you need to see them. I've posted in the window. There is no alcohol being stored over there. It is just a clean, open space with no construction being done. We immediately stopped and listened to what they had to say, and we went forward trying to fix what the problem was. But like he said, property manager wasn't fixing a mold problem. You know, we had to fix a mold problem. There was mold on the wall because the years of the leaking roof, the walls were disintegrated. There was nothing left to them.
The ceiling tiles are 30 years old.
Yeah, the ceiling tiles were falling in. The health department came in. After I guess they informed them, they walked in. The lady told me everything that was wrong. She didn't shut us down. I shut us down. I immediately shut the building, told everyone the kitchen was closed, and we immediately started ripping the place apart and just cleaning, scrubbing walls, like we'll do whatever we got to do. I mean, we've already had to lose a part of our business that we hold dear to our heart, which was our seafood business, because we can't get employees. People don't want to come to work. So the only thing we could figure to keep the employees that we still have a job was to get rid of half the restaurant and make a better liquor store. So that's what we were doing. We weren't trying to intentionally do anything wrong. We just didn't know any better.
We do have drawings of the establishment, you know, obviously.
We went and got copies made of the existing. If you'd like to see these, I can show them to you. There is nothing, like, when you look at it, the difference between the existing and the proposed is we took out a cooler. And that cooler was essentially the wall. That's why there's not a wall there. We needed to build that wall.
And that cooler was
everything else that was done would be cosmetic. Yeah. New drywall, putting the paneling back over the drywall.
Flooring.
Putting the flooring back up because we had to chip out the floor when we ripped up some of this stuff. And then we did take the bathrooms out. But we thought since they weren't part of the building to begin with, it wasn't something that we needed a permit to destroy. We thought we would need a permit to put back up.
But once we found everything out, we did stop everything.
Everything was immediately
stopped. Then, you know, we talked to Wayne Harris and our, you know, commissioner over there, and, you know, been dealing with the county and Anne Arundel County, everyone. So trying to get this process moved and forward as quickly as possible.
And also, there's something was saying about being certified. I also had management agreements all drawn up. Every employee that wasn't certified is now certified. I've sent management agreements for 5 of our employees to make sure there's always a certified employee that is allowed to be the manager in the building, but all the other employees are also certified except for the new hires, which those will also be. Anything that's ever been asked of me, I've immediately jumped on it the best I can. If I have to, I'm probably a pain in the butt sometimes because I call 3 or 4 times a day if I have a question, but you know, we're doing the best we can with what we got, and we're just hoping that we can move on past this so we can keep on going so we can keep some people employed. You know?
I appreciate the candor. Let's see if the commissioners have any questions. Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, I've got a question, a couple. Where are you currently with your project?
We stopped.
You stopped or you finished?
We stopped. We never, as soon as they told us to stop, we have not done one.
All we have to do is add one wall that we want to. Basically, that's all we need to do. We already have the cooler there, and everything else is just free space shelving, you know?
Right.
You just put it in, so, you know.
I applaud the fact that you want to change 30-year-old walls and things of that nature.
I mean, that place is beat up after 30 years.
I'm sure it has, but the plan, generally what you do is submit a plan to anything that you want to change within the structure. We never saw a plan. Actually, that plan that you have there is the first time we've seen it. And then you submit the plan, we basically approve or disapprove. And my understanding was that in one of our inspectors, I think it was either Buddy or Wayne, was out there and basically said cease as far as what you're doing.
Somebody did.
Because you didn't have the right approvals. And that's pretty much why we're here.
Right,
because
exactly.
There was no cooperation within that. And you made some alterations that basically weren't approved. So that's pretty much why we're here.
Yeah.
So, That's all I'm going to say at the moment.
Commissioner Duffy, do you have any questions this time?
No questions, no comments.
Commissioner Snoops?
I'm just wondering if the bathrooms have been redone.
No,
That's-
there's nothing there.
There's nothing there.
There's nothing there. Because,
We already have 3 bathrooms already.
man, would you like?
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Well, who needs another one?
I don't know if it'll help a little bit. So we're in a strip plaza, so we have 5 suites. The first 2 suites are our existing liquor store, which we're completely legal on. The second suites were our market, which had tables, and then the bottom bar, which was our main bar. The middle part, where the kitchen and the market is, that's where the construction was taking place. All we were doing was removing all that so that we could put more liquor in there. That's what we were doing. So the bathrooms were taken down, and we figured.
But it was all freestanding
Right,
shelving
we
that was
didn't need to
taken
put
out.
them back up. So, but when they told us to stop, we stopped. We have not touched anything.
But it was all
since.
freestanding shelving that we took out to make
Yeah.
more room. It wasn't nothing that, it was like, bolted to the ceiling, to the walls, it wasn't a firewall, nothing like that. It was just tables moved out and.
A cooler.
And that, an old cooler, an old
Refrigerators.
refrigerator.
But when we were told to stop, we stopped, and we have not touched one thing
And I
since,
didn't-
even since we've got. the
We've been in
permit.
business like 30-some years, and I never knew anyone to get a permit for taking out tables and a cooler. I mean, and that's what, I know we did the bathrooms, but there was the drywall that had mold.
I
So
think
like, I know the county probably would shut me down if they saw the mold, and they would want me to fix that. And that's, basically what I did.
Well, I think we're looking at pictures beyond taking tables out, at least from what I'm looking at here, from our inspectors. So there seems to be somewhere a disconnect.
Is it the bathrooms that you're looking at?
I'm looking at what appears to
Some of
be
them's a bathroom.
the bathroom, the walls. You're
That was the
looking
only thing
at-
that was taken out, was the
Pardon?
bathroom and walls. That was the only thing that was taken out. That was it.
Inspector Harris is going to provide you copies
Okay.
of photographs, so we
That
can
way we
kind of
can
get on the
check
same
it off.
page here.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the bathrooms. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so the electrical, that's all part of the bathroom?
Yep.
Yes.
Everything that was hanging there, that was just all the bathrooms.
Yeah, that one's the bathroom. This one here, I don't know if you can see the one with me and
That's the part of the bathroom.
that, no, this was where the
Oh,
the cooler was.
Yeah.
That was
That
a
cooler-
cooler we took out. It was a walk-in cooler.
It was 30 years old, falling
Right, it
apart,
was
had holes in
rusty,
it.
we weren't doing
rusted.
grabs
Yeah.
anymore, so we ripped it out.
It was
So
This
literally
is
the company
also the
size.
Guys,
bathroom.
can we try to talk one at a time
sorry.
here? We're
Yeah.
recording this, and we want to make sure that we make an accurate record.
This is also the bathroom. This is also the bathroom. Once again, this is the cooler. That was not a wall there. That was just a cooler, like a walk-in cooler that acted as a wall. That's why we brought the plan, that's why we have the plans, because we need to now put a wall there. This is just trash from the backside. And then this is where they asked us to tape it back up so that it couldn't be seen and nothing was done. And then here's where we had stuff stacked. We didn't think that would be a problem because
We've always had
we're a bar and a liquor store and we had to stock it somewhere. But once we were asked to remove, we've removed everything out. Yeah, this here, these were just refrigerators. It wasn't, they were like deli cases.
Right.
So everything that you see that was removed was, other than the bathroom, was the only structural thing that we moved. Everything else was refrigeration,
They're very old appliances.
bars, stuff like that. And we just didn't need it anymore, so we ripped them out and threw them in the trash. But the bathrooms were the only thing structurally that we also didn't think would count for demo, but apparently it does. That was the only thing that was nails and wood.
Okay. No other questions?
Do the commissioners have any additional questions at this point? No. No? All right, well, hearing none. One second.
Okay. Before I put together a motion, just want to be clear moving forward that you've submitted plans, and those plans have to be then approved by the board, and then basically we'll move on from there. So anything that you're doing currently until we get that information needs to cease and desist.
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that, but
Did you guys want the copies of these?
Yeah.
That's what I was going to ask real quick. You can ask Mr. Harris. Before we started, I actually showed him and brought the letter, because he said we needed a letter to move forward, and we needed copies of the plans. I actually brought these with me so he could show me how to properly do these, so we didn't have to do it over and over again. So we are taking it serious. There's no liquor there's nothing being done in that space right now. It's just a vacant space. Wayne's going to get those, and Wayne and Buddy will get these.
one more question. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and move. I'm going to take both of those counts, the cooperation and alteration violations, and I'm going to move them into one, and I'm going to impose a $500 fine. And I look for a second.
Commissioner Snoops, I second the motion.
Motion is second. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is carried. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next case. Everyone's excused for this case. Next case will be Mission Barbecue Annapolis LLC, Randall R. Reniker, member, Inspector Michelle Monty. There are no restrictions on this. This is a change of officer. Currently, E. Ross, member, on behalf of Mission Barbecue Annapolis LLC, trading as Mission Barbecue, 2101 Somerville Road, Suite 105, Annapolis, Maryland, 21401. This is a Class H with music and beer and wine, music and Sunday license. Anyone wishing to testify, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly declare and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony that you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, please state your name and address for the record.
Randy Reniker, 431 Mariana Drive, Millersville, Maryland.
Okay, have a seat, Mr. Reniker. Thank you. Mr. Praley.
All right, thank you, Chief Inspector Harris. Mr. Callis, nice to see you tonight. You can just give us your name and address for the record, and then we'll let you present your case by way of proper testimony or a combination of both.
Thank you, sir. Nicholas Callis, 90 Cathedral Street, Annapolis, Maryland. If I may, Mr. Praley, I just have a couple of questions of Mr. Reniker first. Mr. Reniker, you prepared the application that is before the board today.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
And was everything at the time you prepared that application true and correct?
Yes.
Since the time of the submission of that application, you've also become a licensee on the Mission Barbecue Glen Burnie restaurant, is that correct?
Correct.
In Anne Arundel County. And you also became a licensee on the Mission Barbecue downtown Annapolis location.
Correct.
Is that, but other than that, is everything in the application submitted to this board true and correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, sir, as you filled out that application, you are a Maryland resident, is that correct?
Correct.
Have you ever been convicted of violating any liquor laws?
No.
Have you ever been convicted of a felony?
No.
Have you ever been charged with violating any gambling laws?
No.
Have you any relationship with a wholesaler, either indirect or direct, in the state of Maryland for the sale of alcoholic beverages?
No.
You have reviewed the rules and regulations of this board, have you not?
Yes.
Okay. And you understand that the board considers any violation of alcoholic beverage laws to be the responsibility of the licensee.
Correct.
Whether you were present in the facility, whether you participated in the violation, you understand all of those things. Is that correct?
Yes.
Will any changes be made to this location, which is on Somerville Road in Parole, the Mission Barbecue Restaurant?
No.
We continue the same operations?
Yes.
You've worked for Mission Barbecue for how long, sir?
8 years and 3 months.
And your experience, how much time will you spend in this restaurant?
It varies from time to time.
But as
So-
required, you will respond,
Yeah.
is that correct?
Yeah.
Does this particular restaurant location have an alcohol policy
Yes.
as to service of alcohol? And
Yes.
what is it?
Everybody is carded, and talking about training also.
Training, and what type of, who is carded in this?
Anyone appearing to be under the age of 31 years old is the expectation, but actually we teach them to card everyone.
Are all the managers of this location TAMS or TIP certified?
Yes.
Okay, and you are TAMS and TIP
Yes.
certified, is that correct?
Yes.
With respect to the community activities of this particular location, they will continue as they have it before?
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
In terms of now, the Mission Barbecue is over millions of dollars.
Yes.
To first responders, wounded warriors.
Yes.
And will continue to participate in the
Yes.
organization. Is that correct?
Correct.
Mr. Pearlie, I have nothing further.
Thank you, Mr. Callis. Mr. Chairman, any questions?
I have no questions.
Commissioner Duffy?
No questions.
Commissioner Snoops, any questions?
No questions.
All right, Mr. Callis, anything you'd like to add?
Pardon?
Anything you'd like to add before I
No,
turn
sir.
it over? Okay, Mr. Chairman.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to change the officer as required, and looking for a second.
Commissioner Duffy, I second the motion.
Motion is second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Motion
Mr.
carried.
Chairman, may I have a
Thank you.
moment say something on the record?
Sure.
As I'm getting older, I know time is getting precious to me. I just want to advise the board, once again, the staff, the board staff are extraordinarily helpful, instructive, and they ensure that the process is correct. The board's previous counsel, Harry Blumenthal, was not only a mentor of mine, but also a person with whom I had the utmost respect. To find a replacement that could come close to Mr. Blumenthal's competency, his character, a man who was a true lawyer's lawyer, the board has made a marvelous choice in designating Mr. Praley to fill his shoes. My friend would be very proud of the board for making that decision.
Thank you, Mr. Callis. Check is in the mail.
Since I'm the chair, before you leave, I want to thank you for those comments. And,
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for the comments about the staff. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right, it's working now. Okay, the next case, Cantina Mama Lucia of Hanover. Bravo. Thank you, Mr. Bittner. Anyone wishing to testify for or against, please come forward, remain standing behind the chair. Raise your right hands. Okay, do you solemnly declare and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony that you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, please state your name and addresses for the record.
Your name, please, and your address.
Anil Aloysius, 3343 Governor Martin Court, Ellicott City, Maryland, 21043.
Kushi George, 9517 Stone Oak Road, Nottingham, Maryland, 21236.
Bijo Vidayathil, 8366 Governor Grayson Way, Ellicott City, 21043.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I'm Richard Bittner, B-I-T-T-N-E-R, and I represent the applicants in this transfer request.
Thank you, Mr. Bittner. Good to see you tonight.
Likewise.
You can go right ahead and present your case by way of testimony, proper, or combination of both.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, this is an application for a transfer. My clients have purchased Cantina Mama Lucia of Hanover from the retiring original owners. They have been operating the establishment under a management agreement for about 2 months. There are no changes planned. This, as the board well knows, was a successful restaurant, is a successful restaurant. It was properly run, had a following, and my clients don't intend to change any of that. It was a question of simply the D'Amato family, the original founders of the restaurant, retired after almost 30 years. I'd ask that our application and supporting exhibits be moved in to evidence and admitted. I believe you'll see that these applicants are fit and proper persons to hold the license. They have no disqualifying criminal offenses, in fact, no criminal offenses. They're TIPS TAMS certified. They have experience in the hospitality industry. They've hit the ground running and have been operating for the last 2 months. They're happy to answer any questions, as am I.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bittner. All of the exhibits submitted will be admitted, and we'll see if the board has any questions. Mr. Chairman.
No questions. Thank you.
Commissioner Duffy, any questions?
No question. Welcome to the neighborhood.
Thank you. Commissioner Snoops, any questions?
No questions.
All right, Mr. Bittner, anything you'd like to add?
No, I just asked the board approve the transfer.
Thank you, Mr.
I'll
Chairman.
go ahead and do that. I make a motion to approve the transfer and looking for a second.
I second the motion.
Motion is second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion
very
carried.
much.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Okay, next case, Chapines LLC, Elazar Contreras, operating member. The inspector is Anthony Harmon. Thank you very much, Mr. Bittner. Anyone wishing to testify, please come forward, remain standing, and raise your right hands. Now, please remain standing and raise your right hands. Sorry, we have room for everyone, I think. Okay, do you solemnly declare and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, please start. I'll start here with this gentleman on my left. State your name and address for the record.
Joseph V. Campbell, 5769 Richards Valley Road, Ellicott City, Maryland, 21043.
Thank you. Ma'am?
Tiara Sledge, 14005 Bramble Lane, Laurel, Maryland, 20708.
Thank you.
Eleazar Contreras, address 431 Brooks.
Scott Glenburn, Maryland, 21060.
Thank you.
Jesse Willingham, 349 Homeland Southway, Apartment 2A, Baltimore, Maryland, 21212.
Thank you.
Salvin Contreras, 3320 Redwood Road, Windsor, Maryland, 21244.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I'm Richard Bittner, B-I-T-T-N-E-R, and I represent the applicants for this new Class H restaurant.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bittner. We'll turn it over to you. Go right ahead.
Thank you. Initially, if I may, I'd like to move in our application and the supporting documents for this Class H restaurant known as Chapines. As the board can note, this establishment, it's an endeavor of two brothers. Elser is going on the license if the board seeks to approve it, and his brother Selvin is an investor, and we filed those documents with the board. The brothers currently run a Chapines restaurant in the Glen Burnie Town Center, and I don't know if anyone's had an opportunity to visit that establishment. It's small restaurant. It holds no liquor license, but it serves a very similar fare to what is the intended menu items in this location, and we've submitted the menu for your consideration. What I'll proffer to you, and the witnesses that are here would tell you, they partake and are patrons of Chapina's Glen Burnie Town Center, that they wish they could get an alcoholic beverage in Chapini's. The fare lends itself to certain types of beers, Central and South American beers. It lends itself to margaritas and other types of frozen drinks. And they would tell you, both the Contreras brothers, that they get requests all the time in the existing restaurant for service of alcoholic beverages. They have patrons who come in, and when they see there are no alcoholic beverages available, they leave. And that has become a problem. And they saw that as not really as a problem, but as an opportunity. And when the space became available on 26 Mountain Road, this is the Festival shopping center. It's across from Marley Station Mall, other side of the Double T restaurant, right at the intersection of, or the head of Mountain Road and Ritchie Highway. So it's a commercial area. It's properly approved and zoned. There's no issue affecting any surrounding community. They're requesting entertainment so that they can have an opportunity to flesh out and present to the community more of their culture. They're hoping to have an opportunity to present mariachis, folkloric type entertainment. But again, the witnesses would tell you, the Contreras brothers would tell you, that this is something that they get requests of all the time at Chapina's in Glen Burnie Town Center. The restaurant itself would seat 95 persons. They have 2 separate private rooms that would be available, one holding 24 patrons, the other 46. These are experienced operators in the food service industry. They understand, and we've spoken great length about the rules and the absolute requirement that they cannot serve alcohol to underage patrons or patrons who have overconsumed. They intend to have all of their staff tips, TAM certified when they open. They're not open yet. They're still in the build-out process. My clients and the witnesses are available for any questions, and I'll be happy to answer any if the board has. Same.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bittner. Mr. Chairman.
No questions.
Commissioner Duffy, any questions?
No questions.
Commissioner Snoops?
No questions.
All right, Mr. Bittner, anything you'd like to add?
I've just asked that the board approve the granting of this new restaurant, Class H, beer, wine, liquor, Sunday, entertainment privileges.
Okay.
Sounds like a plan to me.
Thank you.
So what I'd like to do is make a motion that we grant the new license to Chapini's, and I'm looking for a second there.
Commissioner Snoops, I second the motion.
The motion is second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much.
Motion is carried. Congratulations and good luck.
Thank you.
It was 4-0, wasn't it? Yeah, very good.
Did I count? Mr. Contreras,
of course.
The hours, I've neglected to place that. What hours do you hope to be open?
Open like 8 to 9 or 8 to 10 a week.
8 a.m.
Yeah,
10,
8.
Oh, sorry, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Sorry.
The older brother.
I think see the senior in it.
All right, the motion was carried, so.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations, you're dismissed.
Thank you.
Next case, the Green Turtle BWI LLC. Michael. Well, thank you very much, sir. Anyone wishing to testify, please come forward. Remain standing and raise your right hands. Anybody wishing to testify for or against? Okay. Do you solemnly declare and affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony that you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, please state your name and address for the record, and you can have a seat.
Michael Wells, 304 Songwood Court, Millersville, Maryland, 21108.
Okay, thank you, sir.
All right, Mr. Mister, we'll turn the case over to you.
So
You
the
can-
dogs were barking, I don't know whether they're barking at me or not, but, good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, and Mr. Praley. David F. Mister, Mr. Winter and Bartlett LLC, representing the applicant. If I may proffer, and then, of course, if the board has any questions of Mr. Wells. I would proffer to you that this is an application for a BWI Thurgood Marshall kiosk license, SAC license. Mr. Wells is currently a four-time licensee in Anne Arundel County. He has already a license for a full-service restaurant at BWI Thurgood Marshall. He also holds a license in Hanover, Edgewater, and Wall Chapel, which is the most recent one they had prior to this. So he's been here 4 times and has no violations that we're aware of. The Green Turtle has a ongoing policy that they ask for identification for anyone who appears to be under 40 years of age to purchase alcoholic beverages. They do not serve anyone who appears to be visibly under the influence of alcoholic beverages. They train all of their servers in a Maryland Comptroller Alcohol Awareness Certification program and will continue to operate that way. I would point out to you, as might be obvious, that because this is at BWI Thurgood Marshall, that the Maryland Department of Transportation, Maryland Aviation Administration has already approved this company and Mr. Wells to be a tenant there, an applicant for an alcoholic beverages license, and they're mindful of their existing business there, which has not had any problems for the airport, and we expect it to be an asset to them. It is going to be a kiosk, so it won't be a full-service restaurant, but they will abide by all the normal rules and regulations and certainly follow the same practices they have historically. Mr. Wells, is there anything you'd like to add and supplement to the proffer I've made?
Nope, everything was true and correct.
All right, Mr. Chairman, any questions?
No questions.
Commissioner Duffy?
No questions.
Commissioner Snoops?
No questions.
Anything you want to add, Mr. Mister?
No, I just would like to add that I equally hold both the board and Mr. Praley the same degree of esteem that Mr. Callis does.
I actually hope my wife is watching this proceeding tonight.
I'll give you an affidavit, Jimmy.
This is a perfect one. This perfect one. Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, I just, one quick, you mentioned a kiosk as opposed to your normal restaurant. What's the size? Just, I didn't see a drawing.
Does it say there?
How many
I think it's
seats?
like
I mean,
it's less than 20 seats.
okay, so it's,
It took over a Green Beans coffee shop, and we intend to operate it as a coffee shop with some limited food items and different turtle touches mixed in.
so it's not a kiosk like you'd see in the mall, let's say in the middle of the hallway there, and,
It's a large standalone kiosk.
okay, interesting. All right, I'll make a motion that we approve the new license, and looking for a second.
Commissioner Duffy, I'll second the motion.
The motion is seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is carried. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Mr. Mister. I wanted to say that. Next case, Wingate by Wyndham, BWI 827 LLC. Are we? Okay, Mr. Kawanti Diol, member. Rue Dillon, member. Jagpat. Thank you, Mr. Bittner. Anyone wishing to testify remain standing and raise your right hand, please. Okay, do you solemnly declare and affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony that you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I will do.
Good. Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Kulwant Singh Deol, and my property address is 829 Elkridge Road, Landing Road, the Maryland BWI Airport.
Okay, thank you. You can have a seat, sir. Mr. Praley, Mr.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I'm Richard Bittner, and I represent the applicants.
Go ahead, Mr. Bittner.
Thank you. Initially, if I may, our other two applicants, Mr. DeLon and Mr. Crewell, they are residents out of the state. We'd ask that the board waive their presence. They were unable to make it here today owing to business obligations. We'll take no appeal based on their absence if the board please.
That's fine.
Next, if I may, I'll move in our application package and the supporting exhibits for what is a new, an application for a new hotel restaurant license for 829 Elk Ridge Landing Road in the Baltimore, Washington Thurgood Airport Development Area. It's a freestanding, long-standing, existing Wyndham Hotel, and Mr. DeLaw and his partners, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, meet the qualifications to hold this license. They are, in fact, the owners of the property and of, they franchise the restaurant, but they are the actual owners of their LLC of 829 Elk Ridge Road. There's been an investment by them of more than $500,000. The hotel has more than 100 rooms. They have an enclosed dining area near the entrance and the lobby. Thank you. That dining room has a full-service kitchen. It's serving 2 meals a day from a menu, and we've submitted the menu fare to you. There's 28 seats in the restaurant and 5 at the bar. Mr. DeLow would tell you that in his operation of the restaurant, throughout the whole time that they've been involved in it, he's received requests and complaints because they did not operate a full-service restaurant. They did not have the availability to provide their patrons with alcoholic beverages upon request. He tells me, and he would tell you, that in the comment cards that they receive from patrons, that seems to be the number one request, the number one complaint, if you would, is the lack of any food service and alcoholic beverage service. It's certainly a demand that their customers have been chiming for and requesting. This is a hotel squarely in the center of the tourist industry for Maryland. People come from all over the world, and they're asking for an opportunity to have restaurant fare and the service of alcoholic beverages. Mr. DeLow, I'm sorry? Oh, I thought I heard a question. Mr. Lowe, you've heard what I've had to say, sir. Is all that true and accurate?
That's correct.
Mr. Lowe's happy to answer any questions of the board, as am I.
Mr. Chairman, any questions?
I have no questions.
Commissioner Duffy, any questions?
No questions.
Commissioner Snoops?
No questions.
All right, Mr. Bittner, anything you'd like to add?
No, I'd ask you to approve this new hotel restaurant license for the applicants at 829 Elk Ridge Landing Road, Wyndham Hotel.
Mr. Chairman.
Well, I'll go ahead and make that motion that we grant the new license, and I look for a second.
I second the motion to grant the license.
Motion is seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Motion is carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Good evening.
4-0.
Mr. Chairman, if the board please, I've already submitted in writing my comments.
See what? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, seeing no additional business, I am going to adjourn the hearing September 13th, 2022. Thank you.